Hello class, we are in chapter number 7.2, The Stars, God's Night Light. At night, sometimes we look at the stars and we try to name those stars. Sometimes whenever we look at the stars, we try to connect those stars and say, that is that certain constellation. But one thing I wonder is that the right constellation that I'm looking at? So today we're in chapter number 7.2. We are actually going to learn some of the constellations. And I'm going to tell you some dates of when you can locate that certain constellation. But first off, we have to know what is a constellation. So we are going to look at the constellations in the northern hemisphere first. So what is a constellation? A constellation is a group of stars that seem to outline a picture of a person, an animal, or an object. So sometimes whenever you try to group those stars together, you will group the stars and you will find a drawing of a person. Sometimes you're going to see an outline of an animal, or sometimes you're going to see an outline of an object. But to be able to locate those constellations, you have to locate this constellation first. And this constellation is also known as the Big Dipper, which is a starting point for locating constellations. They say if you can't locate the Big Dipper, you won't be able to locate the other constellations. But if you are able to locate the Big Dipper, you will be able to locate the other constellations. Personally, the only constellation that I've seen, yes, is the Big Dipper. Was I able to locate the other constellations though? No, I have not. But whenever you locate the Big Dipper, you're going to see your first full constellation, which is going to be the Great Bear, also known as the Ursa Major. Again, I think it's because I'm not good at art that I cannot connect those stars together to see an image. But I have only located the Big Dipper with the help of my science teacher. But I couldn't locate the other constellations. But we had the Big Dipper and the Great Bear. Just a reminder before I move on to the next slide, if you're taking notes or if you're highlighting and I'm moving too fast, make sure you pause my video at the end of each slide so you can finish copying your notes or highlighting, and whenever you're done, you can resume my video. But moving on to the next slide, we are looking at the Big Dipper. But again, I told you, once you locate the Big Dipper, it's easier for you to locate the other constellations. The reason why is because of the pointers. The pointers are two bright stars on the side of the bowl of the Big Dipper, which point in a straight line to the North Star. So whenever you connect those two stars on the side of the bowl of the Big Dipper, and you go straight up, it's going to lead you to the North Star. Now, what constellation is the North Star? What can you find with the North Star? It's going to be the constellation also known as Polaris, which is known as the Little Dipper. So North Star is also known as the Polaris. And then we have the Little Dipper, is the last star in the handle of the Little Dipper. So once you find the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, you can find this certain constellation also known as Leo, which is the lion. Lion/Leo can be found by locating the bright star, also known as Regulus. So you have to know that constellation. At the same time, you have to know the star, which will help you locate that constellation. So for example, we have the Little Dipper. What's going to help us find the Little Dipper is going to be the North Star, also known as Polaris. What's going to help us find Ursa Major is going to be the Big Dipper. What's going to help us find Leo is going to be Regulus. So if you are trying to locate Leo, what are the months where you can find Leo? Is going to be February and June, where you can locate the constellation Leo. But moving on to our next constellation, we have the Hertzman, which is a group of stars that look like a man sitting down watching his flock. So I have that constellation up for you in the picture. But looking at that picture, I've been looking at it several times, probably for years now, and I still cannot see a man sitting down watching his flock. Raise your hand if you can actually see a man watching his flock. because it's very hard for me. Again, I think it's because I'm not good at art. But it's actually, once you connect those stars, it's going to show you a man sitting down. Now, what's going to help you find the Hertzman? It's going to be a star also known as Arcturus. Repeat that after me. Arcturus. Arcturus is the largest star of the constellation. It's an easy way to locate the Hertzman. If you want to see the Hertzman and if you want to locate it, the best time where you can find it is going to be during the summer sky. Okay, so make sure if you're trying to look for the Hertzman, look at the sky, look at the stars during summer. Moving on to the next one, we have Orion. Orion is the most impressive constellation. It looks like a mighty hunter. So looking at that picture, it looks like a hunter. I can see that he's holding a bow, and we have that mighty hunter whenever we connect those constellations. But I can see that constellation because they connected the dots for me. If they don't connect the dots for me, probably I won't be able to see Orion. But what are the stars that which will help me locate Orion? It's gonna be Betelgeuse and Rigel. Betelgeuse and Rigel are super giant stars in Orion. Now, when it's gonna be a good time to look at the sky to search for Orion, it's gonna be during winter nights. So if you want to look for Orion, make sure you look for it during the winter. Now, moving on to the next star, we have Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky. It is the brightest because he's so serious. But moving on, we have, it's one of the stars, not the stars, it's one of the stars in the constellation of the Big Dog. So once you locate Sirius, you will be able to locate this certain constellation, also known as the Big Dog. Another name for it is going to be Canis Major. So we have the constellation and the stars. Again, you have to know the name of the constellation and you have to know the star that goes with that certain constellation. But moving on to the southern hemisphere. So what constellations can we see in the southern hemisphere? First off, we can see Scorpion. The Scorpion weaves through the southern sky. The star that's going to help us find Scorpion is going to be Antares, also known as the red star. Antares is the most outstanding star for Scorpion, often confused with Mars. So whenever you look at the sky and you see a bright red star, it might be Mars, but it also might be Antares. But at the same time, it can just be a plane. Sometimes whenever I'm looking at the sky and I see, oh, that's a red star. But why is that red star moving so fast? It's because it was a plane. It was actually not Mars. It was not Antares. But if you do see a red star, it could be Antares and it could be Mars. Now, how can we know that difference? People say just by looking at the size of the stars. But for me, all stars are almost the same size. Okay? But if you look closely to it, they say that they have a different size. So Antares is going to be a little bit bigger than the Mars, than the star of Mars. So whenever you're looking at it, if it is smaller, it's going to be Mars. If it is kind of big, it's going to be Antares. So that is the star which will help us locate Scorpion. But then we have the most famous constellation in the southern sky, which is going to be the Southern Cross. Okay? It's the most familiar sight in the southern sky. Again, I can see that cross because they connected the dots for me, but if they don't connect the dots for me, I will not be able to locate those constellations. But if you can locate those constellations, that's good. Okay? That's very good. I'm actually very jealous because I really want to see some of those constellations, but I have never been able to without help. Now that's going to be all for chapter number 7.2. Today's activity is going to be, you are going to tell me what is your favorite constellation. It could be a constellation that we did not learn today, but what is your favorite constellation? And you are going to tell me the reason why. Why is that certain constellation your favorite? Now, my favorite constellation for me is actually not a full constellation. It's just the Big Dipper. The reason why I like the Big Dipper, and why is that my favorite? Is because it's the only one that I've seen. I'm looking forward to see your responses. Make sure you upload and submit your answers through Dojo Activity. Goodbye.